Hey guys, welcome to today's episode of Unpremeditated, the small corner of the internet where each week, myself and today's Tina.
Yay!
Hi Tina. We share our unabridged, unscripted, and unpremeditated thoughts with the World Wide Web. Alright guys, so today, we're going to talk about Albert Einstein and unpopular opinion, how his wife was way better than him in every way.
His first wife.
His first wife, very important. His first wife was way better. So all of you know Albert Einstein. You know him for his theories. Usually people think of like relativity, general relativity, special relativity. If not, they always think of E equals MC squared. That's like the first thing. Yeah, we know he had crazy hair a lot.
Also his that one photo of him with his tongue out.
Yeah, the one photo of him with his tongue out on all the inspirational posters.
Yep.
People like to say that he failed like 5th grade math or something. Don't even think that's true, but lots of people say it. You know, that's what people think of. However, Albert Einstein's first wife was an incredible physicist and was like a genius. And we don't know how much of his work was actually her work. Yeah. And she just wasn't credited for it. So we're going to talk about her life because her life was a little bit wild. And then we're going to talk about how maybe things should be redone to credit her more. So, being a woman in the early 1900s, you can't do anything. So her dad, worked really hard to get her into, a middle school, where they could teach physics, and she was allowed in the physics classes that were only allowed for guys, because of course they were. Of course they were. And so she met Albert Einstein in college at the Polytechnic Institute. There were 5 students. There were 4 guys, and she was the one girl, because of course. What I think is really interesting is she actually had the highest grade in the class. She was beating Albert Einstein. She had a 4.7 grade, and Einstein had a 4.6. But none of that matters, because the professor really hated her, so he flunked her on the exam, and she never got her degree. After all that, really sad. She never got her degree. Yeah, she tried 4 times and retook the test 6 times and they kept failing her. But anyways. So we all know about this. We know about their relationship and how they felt about each other because they had a lot of letters. They wrote letters every day. It's kind of crazy.
Before texting was a thing.
You write a letter.
Fun.
And so Einstein, a lot of his letters were I'm so sad. Why aren't you next to me? I'm unstable. I need you to ground me, basically. And so that's how their relationship started. And then Albert was oh, hey, I kind of want to marry her. And his parents were hell no. his mom was she's gonna be an old hag. And then his dad was, his dad was, you can marry her, but you need to get a job first. Mm-hmm. This is the struggle, because he doesn't get a job for a good long time. Real problem. So a lot of the other kids in the class, the 4 other people in that class, they all got jobs at the institute, but that one professor hated him, and so he couldn't get a job at the institute where he went to college. So he didn't get a job for a long time. So until he got a job, he was just kind of doing random stuff, pretty much just trying to get money. And then in the middle of this, him and his soon-to-be first wife work on a paper. This paper is his special relativity paper, in which he got a Nobel Prize. In a lot of his letters,
they write back and forth.
Our paper is fantastic. We can't wait until
they refer to it as their child.
They refer to it as their child in their paper. It's very obvious that they worked together on it. It wasn't one side or the other. But there are a lot of questions of why she wasn't listed. The 2 reasons I saw the most were that either A, she thought that a paper with her name on it have less weight to it, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
time period.
Sure.
Or B, she wanted him to make a name for himself, and by having her name on it, it would kind of distract from that. She wanted to have him make more money so that they could get married, basically, which is also kind of really funny. So
she did it for the greater good of their love. Commitment.
May have been a mistake. Why? Because she got pregnant and had a daughter. And he still would not marry her. He still was I'm sorry, my friend, can't marry you. And so we don't know what happened to her daughter. We have no idea. We think maybe she got put up for adoption, but we have no idea what happened to her daughter.
She just went poof.
And no one knows what happened to their child.
Einstein definitely had a couple children with his second wife.
Yes, he did.
But his first wife, no one knows about it.
No one knows what happens to that child. So when his dad is about to die, he's okay, fine, you can marry her. And so he marries her, and they have a son. But let's go back to their relationship when it comes to math and physics, because that's interesting. So her brother's name is Milos Jr., because of course it is. He said, basically, I like this quote because it's really sweet. It says, during the evenings and at night, when silence fell upon the town, the young married couple would sit together at the table, and at the light of a kerosene lantern, they would work together on physics problems. And then he
That's
basically...
so cute.
Right? Isn't that so cute? That's like the nerdiest, like, cutest thing ever. We love that.
Hearts.
And it was just like, they calculated, wrote, and read it, debated. Which I like, because Albert Einstein was also a little bit lazy. So all of his, like... when he did lectures, all of his lecture notes, she would write them for him. She would just sit down and create his lecture, and he would give the lecture. They did a lot together. It's kind of crazy. And so one of the same person, Milo Streeter, he also said that Albert, when they had him over for like dinner and stuff, he would declare, "I need my wife. She solves for me all my mathematical problems."
What is she, a calculator?
She's basically a calculator. Because of course she is a queen. So that was real interesting. And so when people asked her, like, her friends that knew how much she was involved in this work, asked her, why don't you work to get your name on the published stuff? And this is her response that makes me so sad. She says, why? The two of us are but one stone, meaning we are, like, united. They're one person. Mm-mm. Which is the sweetest thing. But then, immediately, he decides to be a terrible person.
With his cousin,
With his cousin. Albert Einstein cheated on her
That's
with his
the
cousin.
one that everybody knows. They know his second wife because it's like...
Yep.
He married his cousin. Ooh.
Which, like, that would have been okay if we're in the 1700s. This is now, like, right before World War I. No, why would you marry your cousin? Yeah. That's gross. You only marry your cousin if you live in the Middle Ages and no one else is around.
Or if you're in Alabama.
Or if you're in Alabama. No one else marries their cousin.
And they had children together.
They had lots of kids together. Not good. Not a fan.
He pulled off a King Joffrey. Prince Joffrey.
Wow, that's so true.
No, he pulled off a Queen Cersei. Game of Thrones.
I don't get that reference. I'm sorry.
No,
I only know a little bit. And I got the first one.
In the show, Game of Thrones, Queen Cersei has an affair with her twin brother.
Ew. Oh, I hate that.
Jamie. Ew. It's really disgusting, but it's like, anyways, continue. That's gonna get cut out.
Is this staying in now?
If I cut everything interesting that you say out, it's just gonna be Danielle talking about history.
So,
somewhere in there, Aaron
Albert Einstein cheated on the best wife ever with his cousin. And she was like, I'm not dealing with this no more. So she wanted a divorce.
Yes.
As part of the divorce agreement, she was like, the Nobel Prize money, I want it. It's mine. I deserve it. And this is when he pops off and does the bad stuff. So at first, he was just like, you know what? I don't want to give you the money. I'll give it. She had children. And she was like, you know what? He was like, you know what? I don't want to give you the money. How about I give it to your sons so they can inherit it? And she was like, baby, no, I worked for that Nobel Prize, give me the money. And then after this was his response. He was basically, we're just gonna read it. It said, you made me laugh when you started threatening me with your recollections. Have you ever considered, even for just a second, that no one would ever pay attention to your says if the man you talked about had not accomplished something important? When someone is completely insignificant, there is nothing else to say to this person but to remain modest and silent. This is what I advise you to do.
Oh my gosh, that makes me really mad.
Basically, he was like, you know what? I get that and all, but I have the fame and power now, and you're weak and insignificant. So just shut up and let me do what I want.
That is so upsetting.
And I hate that so much.
He didn't even pay child support.
He didn't even pay child support. He literally was just like, you know what? Never mind. Suck it. And then left. And
I'm going to go marry my cousin. Screw you, wife that I worked with for a good 20 years.
The worst
That is upsetting.
And for the rest of her life, she got a little bit of money, bought 2 apartments, could not get any more money, so lost the apartments. Like, she struggled financially.
And, like, she can't work either because she's a woman.
She can't work. She didn't get her degree because that maid professor blocked her from getting her degree. So she literally can do very little to support herself and her 2 children.
That's so sad.
One of the letters she read was like, I just hope the fame and stuff doesn't go to his head. He doesn't have very much time for me anymore. And then, like, pretty soon after that, he cheats on her. So the point of this is that her life sucked. And we don't know how much of the work, the end product, was her, and how much credit she should get. So, like, some people say that their relationship, he just kind of used her to get ideas and was just, like, working through his ideas. And some people were like, no, they actively solved the physics problems together, and that's how they got their work. So... Either way, given what she's been through, I kind of feel like
she definitely should get some kind of recognition. I mean, we all know that the Nobel Prize Council, whoever they are, because, like, it's kept secret.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, whoever they are, they, like,
I think
will definitely not do anything.
Because, yeah, they're not going to.
They, like, are like, oh, Rosalind Franklin can't get a Nobel Prize because she's dead. I was like, you're really gonna pull off the graveyard card on her. The nomination has to be done before they're dead.
Yeah.
So Rosalind Franklin and all, like, other...
She's been dead for a while.
Yeah, it's like you have to be resurrected to get the Nobel Prize. I'm like...
Regardless of whether or not your work was monumental and changed
and
history.
Sometimes, even if you're nominated after you're dead, they're gonna be like, oh, well, she can't come to the ceremony, so we're just not gonna give it to her. Yeah, but, like, definitely she should get some kind of recognition.
She should get some recognition.
But I feel like the Nobel Prize is the only thing to do her justice.
The only, like, what else is...
Like, what are you gonna give her? It's like, okay, this is one of the main things that make me really mad. Whenever, like, Forbes magazines is like, oh,
the top
self-made billionaire. And then Kylie Jenner was on there. I was like,
no.
You know she's not self-made. Like, she has a momager who's, like, really business smart in the industry that created a whole TV show that helped her get famous to begin with so that her makeup could sell. That, like, makes me really mad. Like, when you don't give recognition to people who helped get you there. Which is, like, partially the reason why I'm like, we get it. Like, the Nobel Prize Committee is really stingy about who gets it. It's, like, only 70-year-old white old people, right? Mm-hmm. But, like, you could at least give her a mention. Like, you don't have to necessarily give her the prize. You could just say, oh, the Nobel Prize already went to Einstein, but we're going to make a little edit in how it's addressed on, like, our certificate in our books. We're going to say significant, like, just add a footnote. Just be like, footnote, his first wife also did some stuff.
Yeah, it wouldn't be hard, and they wouldn't have to change any of their current rules or anything.
You just gotta, like, put her name in the footnote, but no, they're, like, still stingy. And, like, we don't know who they are. They're probably, like, it's, like, a group of 14 secret Swedish people, or
honestly, probably.
Norse people. I'm like, it makes me mad. Like,
I'm really upset about that,
Also, the fact that it takes, like, 21 years just to get, like,
just to get nominated.
I'm like, what are y'all talking about?
Y'all are so inefficient. Why are y'all taking
I appreciate it. I'm like, they're vetting the people who are like...
Right.
I mean, like, if Ted Bundy did something good and then he just got a Nobel Prize for it and then, like, 20 years later you find out that he was actually a serial killer, that's not good for your rep.
No.
But I'm like... These are, like, intellectuals and, like, professors that literally dedicated their whole entire life to this work.
Yeah.
Trust me, they're not going to have time to go out and commit serial crimes.
Actually, no.
I mean, they shouldn't.
They shouldn't.
They shouldn't have that time. Maybe some of them do. I mean, I'm not one to judge, but, like, honestly, they shouldn't.
Yeah.
I'm like, 21 years is not necessary. Like, if someone gets nominated when they're, like, 70, they're gonna be dead before they get... Like, no matter how influential their work is, they're still gonna be dead by the time they get it.
Yeah.
What are the qualifications?
It's, like, different for each field. So, like, for the Nobel Peace Prize, which is the one everybody knows, you have to have some significant impact in the, like, whatever you did. So, like, Malala, I think, got a nomination. She did. So that was because she did something that, like, improved or helped get a message out, and she put herself at risk. That's, like, another thing. But, like, for, like, literature, it's a lot easier to get a Nobel Prize. Or not, it's not easier, but it's generally a more clear-cut path. It's, like, you wrote something that was impactful and, like, created a new, like, you know, mindset. But I don't know how it works for, like, all these academic fields, like Nobel Prize in mathematics. I don't know how they decide that. It
like for science, I think the time is less. Because I know that there are people that have, like, done research really recently and then got the Nobel Prize for it pretty quickly. Like,
but that was, like, really innovative and it got a lot of media attention. I'm talking about, like, the ones that no one knows about. Like, it might be impactful. Like, they might have discovered a new cell for, like, cancer research. Yeah. And it's, like, definitely impactful. But they're, like, it's like downplayed because no one knows about it. Yeah. Or nobody cares about it. Like, honestly, I think this might be controversial, but I think the Nobel Prize is, like, a very media hype thing. It's like, how much media hype did you get?
I think I was actually going to say the same thing. I think popularity plays more into it than, like, we'd like to think. We'd like to think it's more objective, and it's not.
Like, Dr. Phil might get a Nobel Prize, like,
honestly,
in the future. Like,
Dr. Phil and Oprah get Nobel Prizes. They're incredible people, but also...
I'm like, your work wasn't really that...
No. Like, you're awesome, but your work is not the same level of impact as someone else who may have also qualified for it.
It's definitely also networking, because I know for sure there has to be some way that people who get Nobel Prizes, or not all of them, but, like, some people that, like, got Nobel Prizes, and you definitely know they definitely did not deserve it over someone else. There has to be some way they're, like, in contact with whoever's in the committee. Mm-hmm. Like, you know? That's like a conspiracy theory, but I'm like 99.9% sure that's what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, the Nobel Prize stuff does not always make sense. And it's because if their goal was really to acknowledge people that made changes, there would be way more people who had prizes. Yeah, like
what is your standard of entry?
Right.
And where is your standard of, like, awarding?
Right.
Like, where is the range? Like, there are some people, I'm like, Malala got a nomination. I'm like, yes, because her work or whatever she did was, like,
that's
impactful.
A clear
but I'm like, what are you, and there's also that thing, it's like, you can't get multiple Nobel Prizes in the same field.
Oh, you can't?
I think that's like a rule. I'm not sure, but, like, I'm pretty sure. Or maybe it's just because everybody that's gone to Nobel Prize just hasn't been able to get work done. That's another one.
I'm sure people have Nobel.
No, they definitely have Nobel Prizes in multiple fields. Like, I know people who have gotten a Nobel Prize in chemistry, biology, and physics. Yeah, but I'm not sure you can get the same Nobel Prize in the same field. Mm-hmm. Not because, like, they don't allow it, but simply because it takes so much time to do your work for a Nobel Prize that by the time you, like, have gotten another one out, you're, like, dead.
I think you can get it twice, but it doesn't happen. So, like...
Yeah, it can't be in the same field. That's what I'm saying. Simply because it takes so much time to get the work.
Oh, to publish it.
Yeah, to publish it and get, like, the hype up and, like, the interest up. Like, Marie Curie got it for physics and chemistry.
Who?
Marie Curie?
Yeah, she
got
did.
it for physics and chemistry.
But look, this guy, John Barden, never heard of him, but he got the Nobel Prize in physics twice.
But that's, like, I feel like... No, but, like, the average person who gets the
Nobel no. There's, like, two people that have ever gotten it twice.
Definitely Malala, like, if she gets the Nobel Peace Prize, I don't think she'll be able to get it again just because she's already set the standard so high that I feel like...
It's like, this is your peak, guys.
Yeah,
like,
the committee...
The
committee's gonna be like, yo, you gotta do better, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't care if you, like, won women's rights in, like, Saudi Arabia. It's just not working out. You gotta do better.
I'm not gonna lie, I think Greta might be,
Greta Thunberg? She makes me a little bit mad inside.
I'm a little bit mad at her.
The, like, 16-year-old
like, Swedish
from, like, Swedish...
who started the climate change movement, like, recently.
Started. In quotes, started. Here's the thing.
There are lots of other young girls that have done this and have not gotten recognition for it. She's not the first.
Appreciate what she's doing, because I definitely for sure agree with a lot of what she's saying. Mm-hmm. But the thing is I feel like sometimes she's not actually getting anything done.
No.
Like, herself. Like, the movement she started is definitely impacting, like, our culture. But, like...
The discussion is always about how, young people are speaking up, but then, like...
I'm like, what are young people doing? There's no change. Right? She, like, her UN speech, it was definitely, like, it was a good speech.
It was a very good speech.
But I'm like, these, like, CEOs are only gonna feel bad for one day, and then they'll just go back. Like, she brought up a lot of good points about how it's the companies and major franchises' responsibilities to start change because we ourselves. But at the same time, I'm like, it's not spelling it out for the average person. And then there's also the whole thing about the media attention she's getting. Mm-hmm. Like, none of the stuff she's doing for the media, I feel like, is actually impactful. Like, the whole thing, she's like, oh yeah, I parasailed over to America. I was like, what about the people that are sailing with you? Like, they still have to take the plane back.
That boat has to be taken on a plane back to Europe. She's like, oh, I'm gonna sail because flying is too much of a carbon footprint.
And doing that,
which is true.
It's true. I recognize that.
That boat has to be back.
I was like, you only did one way, and then you had 3 different trips just to get your boat and all the people that were on the boat back to Europe. It's like, and then you got to do it again when you go back. It's like a lot.
So what was the point?
I get the sentiment, but I feel like she did that all for show. Like, it wasn't. Yeah, it was definitely for show.
Yeah.
Like, I appreciate the fact that she was like, oh, my mom, who's an opera singer, no longer travels because of the environment. Mm-hmm. Like, props to her family for taking initiative. I just don't feel like her message is speaking to the average person about what they can do. Like, obviously, it's like, they have all those guys
speaking for like a higher position. Is like, I can make these changes, but the changes she's making are still just putting her on par with the regular person.
Yeah, like I don't know.
So how do you go from here to here?
Yeah, like it's confusing for like the average person. It's like, I want to save the environment, but like I can't afford to like buy a boat to sail across the Atlantic Ocean.
No,
I don't have time for that.
For sure, no.
I'm like not in the position of luxury to like, I mean, I could like just live in a like country that has really good like roads that allows you to like walk to everywhere you go
or bike everywhere
right? But I don't control
right now.
factors.
America does not have the infrastructure.
No, definitely not.
Right now.
I'm like, I can't do anything about this, but like there's definitely small changes that everyday people can make. Like, don't use like plastic bags,
take the bus more,
take the bus more. But like, if you think about things. That's like,
she hasn't said any. She hasn't.
There's a lot of people saying that, but she hasn't pushed for that. No. She's always. I mean, I appreciate the fact that she's pushing and pressuring major companies.
Yeah, that's really important.
But I'm like, you realize like in the most cynical part of your mind, like this is probably not what the average like person would think, but in your most cynical mindset, you know those CEOs won't change anything.
No.
Like it's hard, and if they do, it's so they don't lose customers. Yeah. Like the marches for climate that they had last Friday, I was like, I appreciate it. I definitely appreciate it. But I'm like, that's not going to do anything to change it, you know? Like, in my mind, I feel like it'd be more effective if she, like, this is, like, really funny. I was thinking about this. But if she, like, just goes into an oil company, like Chevron, and just gets, like, CEO position, and just, like,
dismantles
everything. Like, I feel like that would be so much more efficient.
The literal only way, what I think is the literal only way to change, like, a company is either to somehow convince all of the consumers to force the company
which is so much harder.
Which is basically impossible. Or to change it from the inside.
Yeah.
But she's in neither of those positions. So she's not doing either of those things.
Like, she's, like, definitely, like, an icon.
She's an icon and she's extremely influential. But
also, I don't
know how effective what
like when she was speaking at the UN, I was like, the UN knows all these things. Yeah. The UN definitely knows all these things.
And honestly, the UN does very little to prevent countries from doing whatever they want.
It's like, as a consumer, we definitely want these things to change. Or some consumers want these things to change. But then when, as like a company, as a business, you're looking at it, you're like, in the general population, it's only like a 30% of the consumers want this. It's just their voice is really loud.
Yeah.
So if I make these changes, I upset the other 70%. Those are hypothetical numbers, of course. But I'm like upsetting the rest of the 70%. And it's also like, if I'm the only one changing, I have to make sure that I'm successful as a business to prove that this model can work.
Right.
And all the companies are like so scared to do it.
They would be taking on a lot of risks.
Taking so many risks, like stockholders. Like, the climate definitely has to be right, which is why I say Greta's work is, like, absolutely fantastic, because it's, like, changing the, like, general climate change. That was a really bad dad joke.
How people view climate.
It's changing our mindsets, but at the same time, I'm like, I just don't think, like, as city people, we don't, like, get to see trees every day.
No.
Or, like, we do.
The impact is less.
Yeah.
I don't think, so, like, when we're saying, like, companies, I think if we were to do anything, it would have to be big. It would have to be global, and it would have to be simultaneous. Because the issue is, if as America we put limits, then we would be limiting ourselves, and because we're also competing in a global market,
that was the thing about,
we would be behind.
That was also like,
here's the thing. I feel like I agree, but I also feel like if America were to start, because America controls so much of the world's economy, if America were to make huge changes and we're still efficient, basically, America could force the rest of the world to make changes. So, like Coca-Cola, for example.
Coca-Cola has
owns the world. But if Coca-Cola, for an example, make huge shifts in their carbon footprint and were to still be successful, Coca-Cola, owning everything, could force other beverage companies
Coca-Cola
to do whatever they want. Like, I mean, they're such a big conglomerate that they change the economy.
But here's the thing, the economic power is shifting over. Because there's like that thing about America's, our president is like, oh, we're still number one. I'm like, the only thing we're number one in is like the amount of people that are incarcerated per GDP and our student loan debt. Yes. Like, that is what we're number one in. Like, right now, China and others, East Asian countries are definitely climbing the ladder in terms of economic power. Like, we see how powerful the labor force in China is. That's why all our companies are going over there. And like fundamentally,
right, but even then, those like American companies that are outsourcing, they have
I know,
America
but
has more economic power.
fundamentally, it's like we are so stuck on the older ways. Like,
sure.
He's like, I'm gonna bring back jobs. I'm gonna get rid of
coal.
automation.
Like coal is big that he was mentioning.
I'm like, that we're going backwards as a country. Like in our policies, we are going backwards. I'm like, we need to change or progress forwards. Like look to other options. I feel like politicians are just going backwards because they know in the past that these options have worked. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, the times are changing, environment's changing, we need to make new methods. And I'm like, China has a really good opportunity because they have such a big labor force and such a big intellectual force. I'm only saying that China might be like new next top thing because they have they're pushing towards more innovative solutions, right? Like,
yeah, I agree with
there's
that.
definitely something because, okay, this is like something my dad told me. He's like, I'm not worried about climate change because eventually we'll come up with like a technology that will help us. Mm-hmm. But I don't see that coming around because politicians keep going backwards. Yeah. I'm like, if you want to solve environmental economic issues, you always have to come up with new innovative solutions. That's like the thing they tell us at school. They're like, come up with a creative solution.
Yeah.
But like, they're not doing that. It's so frustrating. I'm like, you have the resources to research and develop new technology.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We already have a lot of the technology.
Yeah, like, definitely. Like, Tesla is like...
We have electric cars.
Yeah, we have electric cars.
Driving around right now.
Definitely. But like, it's just the brain power, I feel like, is just going everywhere else. Like, especially because, okay, college debt, guys.
Oh
it's like so upsetting.
About that.
Oh no. Next year, 4 years from now,
please don't.
Both of you guys will be financing, money, fun, anyways.
Oh yeah, we're seniors. We're about to go to college.
These are both seniors, and then they got fun. Woo! Graduation. No. I feel like the only high you'll ever have is in the summer between.
It's gonna be the day I graduate and the summer, and then I'm walking to my first class. I'm gonna hate it.
Yeah, that's gonna be like the peak, and then it's all downhill from there.
I'm gonna love the classes, but I'm gonna hate being there.
I doubt that.
I don't
highly
think so?
doubt that.
Dang.
I've like always, middle school to high school, I was like, everything's going to be different. Nothing was different. And now I'm like, college, everything's going to be different. But I have a feeling nothing's going to be different.
Nothing was different for you between elementary, middle, and middle high?
Okay, elementary, middle.
If you went to Rogers, you would have.
Elementary to middle was definitely a shock. Middle to high school, it was like first 2 months was a little bit of a shock because I hadn't yet comprehended that I'm in high school. But it was like just a tiny shift. Like I had to spend a little more effort. Like it wasn't like a cultural shock, you know? Like I still had to go to class. I still had teachers.
Right.
Fun stuff. But then I'm like, college is definitely going to be more different. Like there's going to be parties.
College is going to be different.
There's going to be stuff. I know it's going to be different in terms of the environment.
Like,
but I'm like,
unless you want somewhere like Harvard, where it's the same general mindset as like Carnegie, I think it's going to be really different.
Also, okay, Ivy Leagues. Mm-hmm. What are our opinions on them? Because recently the Asian American thing, so a couple years...
let me explain. So,
yes,
I have to
Danielle's
explain,
time.
Because it starts way before this
Oh my gosh, yes it does. Because the guy the lawyer who's using the plaintiffs is the same guy. Okay, basically, the lawyer... Okay, disregarding this whole case. The lawyer who's running this specific case... He ran an argument in Texas. He's a Texan lawyer. Mm-hmm. He ran an argument a couple years back, like 2016, for this white girl from
UT or A&M, right?
It was for UT. You know the whole like Texas thing where it's like, okay, basically in Texas we have that 10% thing where it's like if you're top 10% in a public high school, you get automatic admission into a UT or Texas state school, right? Mm-hmm. Well. This particular girl was 12% at her really large high school, and she said, this is blatant racial discrimination because I am white and all the other people that got in were, like, not white. Something like that.
Okay, back up. When people say, like, oh, I'm not getting into this college, a black is going to take my spot because of affirmative action, what they're ignorantly but yet still referring to is that back in the day, people were like, there's too many legacy students getting into these schools, not getting opportunities, which there still is. But they were like, let's try to fix it.
So they gave quotas.
They gave quotas, which are saying, basically that 10% of your students have to be minorities.
Or no, it's like the population.
I
think now it's the population of each race at the school has to be reflective of the general population of the country. So it's like if there's 24% Asians in this country, your college has to have 24% Asians in your student body.
Someone sued like Congress and was like, I hate this. And then Congress was like, okay, sure. We'll change it from, they no longer use the term quota, but it's pretty much the same thing. Yeah. Some schools, however, can opt out. So like Caltech does whatever they want.
Oh, everything is based on race. All the California state schools do only merit, which is why you have so many Asians in all the Cal schools.
For example.
UCLA, all Asians.
Anyways, so what's happening now is that Harvard and a lot of the other Ivies don't quote unquote use a quota, but they do try to diversify their student body. Yeah. And so they do a holistic admission process, which includes things like race and ethnicity. And so some students were like, well, I'm not getting in because I'm Asian. When we do an interviewer immediately like discounts me because I'm Asian. They say, oh, my personality is not as good. I get lower scores.
Stereotyping, basically.
Yeah, they're saying they're being discriminated against.
Basically, they're saying they're getting lower personality ratings. Like, their grades are still the same or maybe even better than other people. Yeah. They're just saying, oh, I'm getting lower personality gradings during the interview because the interview's looking at me and saying, oh, he's Asian. He can't be that interesting. Right. And that they're saying that affects the holistic review in a significant manner to the point where they're not getting in.
There's two main problems with this.
The interview isn't... The multiple admission officers will say that an interview will not make or break your application.
It doesn't, which is why this is such a big issue. It's like...
It's a bigger issue because it's less important.
No, it's an issue. This whole lawsuit's a bigger issue because it's blatantly ignoring the fact that interviews are like, as a holistic review, they don't... Yeah. The interviews are to get to know you, you know? Mm-hmm. They're to get to know the student better to see if they're a viable or true match. Because up until that point, all the admission officer has is your application. Mm-hmm. They look over your grades, obviously, which in America doesn't play that big of a role. And then they look at your other extracurricular stuff, which plays a much bigger role. They want to see if you're...
Especially like Harvard.
Yeah. They're like, do you do a lot of community service? Are you very motivated into these initiatives? Are you really into the things you're saying you're into? And then they go through all that. And then the people they call for interviews are people they're like, you look like a really good match on your application.
Let's get to know you more.
Let's get to know you. I want to know if all the stuff you put on your application is actually matching up with your personality. Like, are you someone who takes initiative, like you said, on your application? So when these people are saying, oh, they're judging me based on my race, honey, they already know your race. They already took that into account when they called you for your interview. The fact that they're saying your personality doesn't match with the school is probably because your personality doesn't match with the school. It doesn't have anything to do with your Asian. Like, they definitely have some, like, Hispanic students that they say are boring. It's not a racial thing. Anyways, so
one of the other arguments they were making was that they were saying we can prove that Rice is that Harvard is actively discriminated against us because the percentage of Asians that have gotten in has not gone up, as it should, quote unquote, with the population.
Oh, that annoys me.
However, it has been going up. It's been going up larger. The percent increase is higher than it is for other races. It's stagnant because it's Harvard, but if it's going up at higher percentages.
If we go based off of population quota, which is kind of the system, they don't call it, but the system they're running off of. Pretty much what it is. Yeah. I believe the Asian population in America is about 12%, 13, 14, around that range. So, if we are going off of population quota, the population of Asian students in the student body of Harvard should be 12, 13, 14%. Right. It's more than twice that. It's 24, 26, 28%. Yeah. So clearly they're accepting more Asians than they probably should be if we're going based off of quota. Quote unquote. Anyways, so we're done. Explain background. Yeah. So basically this judge said...
The same bad judge that did the white girl trying to get into
that's the lawyer. The judge...
not judge, I'm sorry. The lawyer.
The lawyer. So he argued his case, and Harvard argued their case. Harvard also released, like, a lot of interview papers. So, like, if you're into Harvard, definitely look through that so you can see what they're actually looking at. Anyways, they're probably going to change their interview.
I know, but...
Sorry. Anyways, so, Harvard... argued their case, and then the judge, I think it was a Washington district judge, I forget the details, but the judge was like, yeah, no, this is clearly not blatant racial. There might be some indirect racial bias, but it's not significant enough to where your point is proven. So now it's off to the Supreme Courts, because they just appealed, and I'm like,
off to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, I'm so...
It's not a strong
Listen,
case.
I here's the thing. They're not getting affirmative action in the context correctly. The organization, by the way, is Asian Americans for Affirmative Action. Very nice alliteration.
Which includes like all of Asia. So like all of Southeast Asia plus India.
Yeah.
Which is like also having their own problem with this.
Yeah, anyways. So
like, guys,
there's so many things. Okay,
Stop.
affirmative action on its face is basically you can't discriminate based on race, gender, ethnicity, all that fun categorical stuff.
And if a school agrees to follow a quota, quote unquote quota, then if you have the qualifications and you have showed that you are a good fit for the school, then you are given
all
spot.
That fun stuff. But, okay, here's where it comes. The definition of affirmative action gets really messed up in this case. Because in the 1960s, affirmative action for Chinese people in California, it was a Chinese American plaintiff that originally sued for this affirmative action thing to get put in the U.S. Full government legal system. They were suing because Chinese Americans that were born in the U.S. were having a harder time learning, doing well in school because they didn't know the language. Yeah. So affirmative action in that case helped balance out the racial equality by making ESL a thing, English Second Language. Mm-hmm. So now it benefited everybody, even there we go, Spell.
That's so weird.
But it benefited everybody because now we had equal opportunities. But the way this case is working is
it's completely counter.
Yeah, it's breaking down. Also, it's just humorous to me how Asian Americans, we take all the insults for freebies. Anyways, but it's so funny to me because Asian Americans, we take all these racial stereotypes and we ignore them. They're you have small eyes, you smell like curry, you don't do sports very well. We take all of those insults and we brush them off because they're I'm going to go to a good school and prove all of you wrong. The moment they don't get into a good school like Harvard, they're this is racial.
Their whole self-worth
they're this is not correct. I'm
I've seen it happen.
There are so many good colleges outside of Ivy Leagues. Frankly, I think Ivy Leagues are kind of overrated just because people are oh, if I don't go to Harvard, I'm going to be a failure in life. I'm no, you can go to so many.
U of H and are incredible people now.
You can go to so many good colleges. There's so many options. Yeah. It's a matter of how well you do.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's
Go
it.
ahead and...
Yes. So, wow, that was a wild ride guide.
Yeah,
so
we went from
all colleges, but we're going to close out now. So, we're coming up on that now 48-minute mark. And each week, all of the transition music is used on our show comes from either popular songs or the soundtracks of theme songs of movies and TV shows. So if you guess correctly, we'll give you a shout out when we reveal the source of the music clips in the next episode. Last week's clip was a Marvel TV show theme on the CW, which stars an actor who once played a side character in Glee. Alright, guys. Right?
Yeah.
So, I revealed the name of the song, right? Okay, this was the Flash theme song, in case y'all weren't aware. An iconic show. So this week's song hit top 50 in 1954. And, fun fact. The orchestra conductor on this specific recording that we're going to play today made the rhythm of the song using his knees instead of an actual instrument. So that's pretty interesting. Alright, thanks guys. As usual, this episode is hosted and produced by me and Camille, but today we have Tina! Yay! Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye!
Bye!